Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea Tranquility. Welcome to another episode of the UK Connection, alongside my co-hosts and co-captains extraordinaires, Mr. Simon Bray and Mr. Steven Reid. Greetings, gentlemen.
How we doing, Pete?
Doing good. Doing good. I'm ready to talk some melodic rock today.
Good.
Once again, as we visit three melodic rock gems, an acknowledged classic, one that may be a little under the radar for some people, and another one that is a surprising melodic rock album from an artist we don't normally associate with that sort of thing, right? That's kind of how we do this on this particular topic. But before we get started, let's talk beverages. I don't have anything to talk about today, and I'll explain when we get to my turn why. But Simon, what you drinking today?
Well, I always take one for the team. I'm drinking a Pommel Machello from the good folk at the Siren Craft Brewery place. Are you ready for a description? Excellent. I'm going to do it anyhow.
Yeah.
A zingy sour IPA hopped with Equinox, Bravo, and Mosaic to create the biggest grapefruity hop profile we could muster. But we've also included grapefruit zest and juice for good measure. Lactose rounds things out with a sweet and smooth touch. Well, let me tell you, my friends, I will be the judge of that. Let's do it. Let's pour
I love
it.
this zingy. I love that word, zingy.
There was a lot of fancy words in there, was there not?
It really were. It better be fucking awesome.
I mean, it left me with no idea of what it's going to taste like.
For those people watching, let's hope Simon has more to say about this beer than last week's beer, because last week you had like nothing to say about that at all, which led me to believe that you did not like that one bit.
It kind of looked like wee, as does this one. But I poured this one, Peter, in honour of you, in my Lancashire Cricket Club glass.
Nice.
Or piece of plastic. Yeah. So, shall we give it a taste? Shall we see if it's zingy?
Yes.
You think my internet's gone off, don't you? I'm just trying to think of a word for it that isn't. It's a bit lemonade. It reminds me of lemonade.
So it's very citrusy.
Yeah. So yeah, and it's 6 of your earth percent. So
yeah, there's fruit juice you've got.
I'm staring at you in the hope of that you actually are down there on the thing. So I'm staring at you.
I have no idea.
I'm doing a Kerber stir. Yeah, excellent. Good times. What have you got there, Stephen?
Rollins?
I have a friend. Rollins cider is what I've got. This is from, was it Neil Stoker was kind enough to send us these, or get someone to send us these. This is 7%. It's a medium cider. It is not particularly, as he picks up the coaster with it, fizzy or anything like that. It's a proper grown-up cider. It's very nice. I've had one before. I will have one again. It's lovely. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Cool. Well, through the magic of television, we occasionally have to tape these things at hours different than normal. And today, it's the end of their day, and I'm still like lunchtime for me. So I am drinking H2O in my Deep Purple In Rock tumbler here, because it's a little too early for me to have a beer. So I'm not, but I do have some really good ones in the fridge. So tune in next week where you will probably see one of them. So.
No, you won't. I know. I've actually been paying attention. No, you won't.
No,
yeah, the week after, maybe.
The week after you will do, yeah.
But maybe I'll surprise you. I don't know. We'll see. Oh, yet to be determined. We'll see.
Okay.
Anyway, so now that we got that out of the hand, so AOR Melodic Rock Week once again. Steven, you want to introduce the three albums in question today?
Okay, so the three albums in question that we're doing are the classic Escape by Journey from 1981, released on Columbia Records. This is the band's seventh studio album, produced by Mike Stone and Kevin Elson. Got to #1 in the US, number 32 in the UK, and did pretty well in lots of different places. This was the sixth best-selling album of 1982 in the US and the 34th best-selling of 1983. And eventually it was certified diamond, which means a lot. That's what that means.
10 million copies, people.
That's the classic. That's the classic. Then we shall move on to, this is the, not underground, but maybe slightly underappreciated, under the radar.
Yeah,
it's under something, it would appear. That's what it is. And this is H.E.A.T. This is their second album. This is Freedom Rock. I will freely admit that this was my suggestion, and there'll probably be lots of people in the comments going, you should have chosen the debut. Okay, I like this one a lot. I mean, I'll let the cat out of the bag right now. That's why I chose this one. It's also got the debut on it. That's the version that I've got. So I'm kind of there, kind of not. This was released in 2007. H.E.A.T are from Upplands Väsby in Sweden. Okay. They released their debut in 2008, followed this up in 2009, and this is really good. And the third one, I'm hoping that Simon has a bit of show and tell. Here we go. This is Cher from 1987 with the imaginatively titled Cher. Okay, not to be confused with her 1966 album called Cher. Okay.
Yeah, but the focus groups liked Cher in '87, didn't they? You know, they thought it says exactly what it's going to be like.
Well, it did.
More,
to be fair.
More of that later.
Oh yes. So this reached number 26 in the UK, number 32 in the US. And realistically, there are probably more people featured on this album that you've heard of than I've ever met in my entire life. That's how many people worked on this album. It's absolutely bonkers. Lots and lots to talk about with this album. It's a bonkers release in so many different ways. So yeah, that's the three we're focusing on today.
Cool. So we'll start off, we'll kick it off with Journey Escape from 1981. Simon, what do you got to say about this?
Oh, Journey. I like Journey. I've got somewhere all of their albums. Can't find Escape because I just can't be asked going to the loft because it's on cassette. And do you know what? I was thinking just the other. I never make that choice to think. Do you know what? I'm going to play Journey. Okay. And you know, I've got the new one, Freedom. I've got it on vinyl. I have never played it on vinyl. 28 quid down the tube there, kids. Don't you think? just no. But anyhow,
it's pretty good, Simon. You should crack it open.
It is. Like I said before, I have started a roundtable review for it, but just never finished it. So, yay. It's definitely too long. One thing that isn't too long, see what I did there, is Escape. Thank you. Hope you're all week. Enjoy the chicken. Yeah, Escape is... It's a tremendous album. It really is. You know, just lots and lots of good stuff. I'm rather like with the Foreigner one from the other week. I think the good stuff's in the non-hits.
Great deep cuts on this album.
Yeah. Great deep, really good deep cuts. Quite often I've said, and I've said it on loads of shows, you know what? I can listen to those classic tunes over and over again. So I did. I started up. I went for a walk. I put my earphones in. Don't Stop Believing came on. Jesus Christ. No, that's a genuine song I never, ever need to hear again. And I like it. I probably wouldn't turn it off if it came on the radio, but it's just too ubiquitous and too, you know, meh. It's just too everywhere. You know, and it kind of buys into that thing because kind of in some way, kind of Journey were like our kind of secret in the UK because nobody knew who they really were until Glee did Don't Stop Believing, and the Sopranos as well. Nobody really knew who they were. And, you know, we discussed before, everybody buggers off in the UK when they play Don't Stop Believing in concert. But I just never need to hear it again. And I've always really enjoyed the song. I really have. Keep On Running is great. Still They Ride's great. The whole of side 2 is excellent. Yeah, and I'll tell you what, it's a heavier album than you think.
Yes.
You know, what has come to be classed as AOR / melodic rock these days is a wash with really big keyboards and kind of like a big block of sound everywhere. I think I've said it before. Just hits you kind of there. And it's guitar dominated. And Jonathan Cain plays a lot of actual piano in the songs. You know, it's not just a big lush kind of thing. It's a proper rock record. However, that said, my two favourite songs are Who's Crying Now and Open Arms. Yay! I think the solo on Who's Crying Now is amongst my favourite things on the face. That's it, Stephen. Yeah, imagine that I'm Neil Sean right now. Imagine that I'm that man.
You are 100% correct. That Who's Crying Now guitar solo is epic.
It's
not flashy. It doesn't need to be. It's perfect for that song.
It really, really is absolutely perfect. And you know what? It's not my favorite Journey album. There is actually one Journey album that I do go back to all the time, but I feel like we might be doing a favorite / least favorite at some point. What I would say, however, is that for Stone in Love, it's one of those songs where I can't tell what the fuck he's singing. Just, I genuinely, I brought them up. I had a look for them somewhere. Now, me being me, I can't find it. But I just the opening, Stone in Love, you know, just no, because didn't Kerrang used to call him the Duck?
Yes, they did.
Steve the Duck. So you know, I don't get duck myself. I just cancel a word he's saying. But it's a really, really good album.
Well, sorry, sir, I have to interrupt you there and say that was definitely more Pingu.
I see what you did there.
Yeah.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, yeah. I've nothing else to say on Escape. It's a damn fine record, and you would have thought, given the ubiquity of the title of the song, that it may have crept higher in the chart at some back in the UK and been dragged in, but nope, it's just that kind of song over. It's just a one song. Just that one song. You never hear any of the others on the radio.
No, where they went wrong was None of Them Died. Because it would appear that when Meat Loaf did that, everyone bought his albums. Hence, they went back into the charts again. With Journey, they just had a popular song. So I would imagine that it was streamed a gazillion times and they made probably 17.6 pence from it instead, would be my rough guess. But it does mean that along with packages, they get to play big venues over here, which was not a thing prior to this at all. And that really was kind of the big change for them now. Journey come and play big venues in the UK, and admittedly they're clever enough to bring along Foreigner and Styx and bands that will put other bums on seats. But I'm not going to argue because all these bands are good. So
yeah, they do that here all the time too. Yeah, I mean, Journey is like a staple of the summertime tour season here, and they come, like you said, with Def Leppard or whoever, and it's a big deal, and they pack in 10 to 20,000 seaters easily. I think last year they were with Toto, and I think they're coming back with Toto again in 2023. Yeah, I got to go to that because I missed it this year. I got to go. Yeah.
And Toto.
Anyway, hell yeah, yeah.
That's a story for and maybe another one of these shows. Who knows?
Yeah.
So this is an interesting album because there was 4 singles released from this because it was in the US so successful, and you would presume that "Don't Stop Believing" would be the highest charting single of those. It got to number 4. "Open Arms" got to number 2. It's funny how time and all this kind of thing, revisionist history, you just presume that the biggest song of this must be "Don't Stop Believing" for exactly the reasons that Simon's mentioned, popular culture as opposed to the success that I had in the charts. So I don't know, is this the classic lineup of the band, do we think? You've got Steve Perry, Neil Sean, Jonathan Cain, first album with the band, I think, after Greg Rowley's departure.
Yep.
Ross Valerie on bass, Steve Smith on drums, I think is massively underrated. In general, he is just outstanding. You wouldn't necessarily expect that in this kind of band, but man, it's so good. So good. And I mean, Dean Castronovo these days.
You want to hear him doing his more jazzy thing? Let's go buy this. It's amazing. Anyway, sorry, I digress.
Absolutely, that's quite all right.
Review coming next week, folks.
plug. So arguably, we should maybe have done this in the first kind of AOR melodic rock show, because this seems to be, if you go hunting on Google, this seems to be the one that is the AOR album. It's number 1 in all the polls, classic album polls, classic rock polls, AOR polls. people vote for this is the one. And yeah, I'm with Simon. Yeah, if we swing back round and do a favourite, least favourite, this may feature at some point, but it's not my favourite Journey album.
It's not mine either.
But it's really good.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm with you, Simon. Do I need to hear Don't Stop Believing ever again? Well, no. But if I never heard that again, I would never hear and that would be a travesty because I absolutely loved that bit. And live, with all the lights hitting the guitar and all spangling round the venue, I'll hear it every time they play live because it is one of those moments and the place erupts. It's just really clever songwriting. It doesn't need to be there. Wow, it's such a better song because it is there. But I mean, it is a great song, but the album's really clever in the sense of pacing, I think. You know, Don't Stop going into the upbeat Stone in Love. Then you've got that beautiful slow of Who's Crying Now, and Perry is absolutely outstanding there. You get the urgency of Keep On Running, and there's just a real complement between all of these songs. This is back in the day where they really, as Simon used to say, they don't make albums like this anymore. This is a properly constructed.
Scottish Simon.
That's right, you can. Okay, so and even the ballad "Open Arms," it feels genuine. It's not schmaltzy. It's not kind of sugary syrup. It's really, really good. Yeah, I mean, I was going to name other albums from Journey that I would rank alongside, maybe higher, maybe slightly below. But yeah, okay, let's agree that at some point we'll probably swing round and do this catalogue. So I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to say that I find nothing here to dislike. It's a really cleverly constructed, well-written, the performances are excellent album. Everything about this album ticks the box. I like the cover. The cover's a hard time the last time that we did this show. It's bright in your face. That would have made me stop when I was flicking through the racks back in the day when we all flicked through vinyl all the time. You know, even the back. I mean, it's cheesy as hell, but I like it a lot. It's the real deal. You know, they've even got a logo, which kind of doesn't say anything. It's a brave move, isn't it? But anyway, yeah, really good. I find nothing to dislike here at all. Is this a classic? Absolutely. This is a classic, and I can see why it's held up in those terms. It's certainly, in my humble opinion, it does AOR / melodic rock perfectly. Absolutely perfectly. This is fantastic stuff.
Yep. I would agree with both of you. It's a stone cold classic. Stone cold classic. Yeah, and I'm with you. It's not my favorite Journey album. Is it a top 3? Perhaps. It's top 5 for sure. It's top 5 for sure. It may not even be a top 3 for me. I mean, and if we do that Journey show, we will talk why. Because to me, they have a handful of truly spectacular albums that are all really different from each other, and they're great in different ways. But that's a story. That's a discussion for another day. Side 1 of the album is immense. You know, I agree with you. Don't Stop Believing is probably a song I don't need to ever hear again, but I like when I do. And it's an iconic song, especially here. I mean, everybody knows Don't Stop Believing. Even if you don't know who the hell Journey is, you know that song. It's been featured, you know, commercials and movies and television. It was probably the feature song of the night of my wedding. And I will always have a soft spot for it because that has a lot to do with it. We played it at the after party in the hotel bar. It was like 2 a.m. They were calling for last call, and my wife and I and everybody else who was still there, this was the last song we requested from the DJ that night, and we were all drunk as shit, but we were all sitting there singing and just having a great time with this song. And so it'll always be really special for me. Stone in Love is great. Who's Crying Now is awesome. Keep On Running is great. Still They Ride is terrific. Those are all first-rate Journey songs. Side 2 is, like Simon said, is really strong with some great deep cuts. Escape, the title track, is great. Lay It Down is great. Dead or Alive is a killer hard rock song. And Mother, Father, truly exceptional. For me, I know, Simon, you're going to hate me. I don't like Open Arms at all. but I understand why people do, because it's a really, really, really well-crafted ballad. I always preferred Faithfully from the next album. For whatever reason, because Faithfully has a great guitar solo. Open Arms doesn't have anything. But I get why everybody loves it. I'm not a fan of Open Arms, but I think Steve Perry sounds tremendous on this. Neil Schon is spectacular. He is, for me, one of the best guitar players who creates uber memorable solos in every song that perfectly fit the song, and they don't overstay their bounds. And he's so unique in his style. Valerie and Smith are terrific. Steve Smith is great. And Jonathan Cain, in his first album with the band, kills it on here. Like Simon said, lots of piano, good amount of synths. Kills it on here.
John McCain.
Production. What's that, Simon?
Isn't John McCain dead?
Jonathan Cain.
Well, John McCain.
Yeah. What did I say? I don't know. Who knows?
Oh, just checking.
And I'm not even drinking. See how weird that is? I was out late last night, folks. And I do want to mention that I saw them on this tour, and it was spectacular. And a very, very young and kind of unknown Bryan Adams opened up, which was interesting. And he was very good. But I remember like walking away from the show thinking, and as a kid, this was 81, so I was 15, thinking, wow, that drummer was amazing. And I never was interested in drummers one bit. That's how good Steve Smith is. So, 3 top 10 singles, 10 times platinum, number 6 US Billboard charts. It's a Stone Cold classic. Awesome.
2 things.
Sorry, Simon. Just because it's an interesting.
Sorry. No, I cede the floor to you, my learned friend.
Thank you. It's an interesting point regarding Neil Schon, because we've done 2 classics now. So we've done Foreigner and we've done Journey. There's 2 fantastic guitar players. But when you listen to conversations about best guitar players, they're nowhere to be found. And it's the style of music that does it. They're not included because it's not heavy, it's not obviously riff-driven. The solos are maybe slightly less histrionic. Not always, to be fair, in Journey. Maybe so in Foreigner a little bit. They're more about kind of classy tasteful. But it is, I think it's a shame how a lot of these kind of musicians are kind of seen as a bit throwaway because the music is, catchy and commercial in current terminology. That's not necessarily how it was viewed back when it was released. But it does seem to have diminished, I think, the stature of some really good musicians.
I agree with you. Yeah, that's a good point. Do you guys remember? I don't know if I'm assuming you probably heard it. And do you remember in the mid '80s when Ronnie James Dio did that whole hearing aid thing?
Yeah, got it. Yeah.
I remember if you got the longer version with all the guitar solos, right? You had all these metal players and Neil Schon. And I remember back in the day, most of us, who were totally into all this stuff, after we heard that the first time, we were like, wow, you know who the best was out of all those guitar solos? Neil Schon, the guy who really almost didn't belong there. That's how good he is.
Yep.
That's how good he is.
Yep.
Not to derail the conversation about Neil Schon's guitar playing, but he is truly amazing and an original.
Absolutely.
Okay. What I would say is two things. Pete, you said you're going to hate me because you like Open Arms. That's an interesting thing to say because do you know what? And it doesn't happen in the comments on Sea of Tranquility, but hating people because they like or dislike a song that you like or dislike is, I believe, fucking insane.
And I'm joking, Simon. I just
no. Quite. Sometimes you go on forums and you look on comments on other lesser YouTube venues and you think, whoa, he just said he didn't like a song. There's no need to threaten to kill him or other stuff like that. Just it's a song. It's an opinion,
right? And we all hear these songs and albums differently.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's been interesting after the End of Prog Seat show that we did last week or 2 weeks ago with when we did the social media poll, band I hate. And that word was used because that's the word that was used in those kind of questions. I've had lots of interesting discussion with people in the comments where it maybe hasn't started out as, oh, well, I really like what he said, but it kind of ended there because people have been willing to kind of have an open and kind of candid conversation about it. We can like different things for
and
different
that's the way it
reasons.
should be.
And it's
I
really
think
healthy. Yeah, I've actually really enjoyed being part of the comments from that show. And because I responded to some of the ones that weren't so positive about what I said, but we've had a really interesting discourse after that. It's been really good fun. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think, unfortunately, we live in a world where everybody feels the need to have their own likes and dislikes validated by the rest of humanity, and it doesn't work that way, right? It's like you said it perfectly. It's like we all are going to like and dislike everything, whether it be a song, a band, a guitar player, a brand of peanut butter, your favorite pizza. We can't all like the same things the same way, right? It doesn't work, and it shouldn't. That's why I always think it's weird. Simon brings up a good point where you have people like, oh my God, he doesn't like that album. He must be an awful person because I love that album. It's like, I drive a Toyota, you drive a Honda. There are reasons why we do that. It doesn't make the Hondas bad, right? It's just like, whatever. Yeah, it's a great point, Simon. I agree with 100%. I was joking, of course, because
I know, but
we have this running joke that sometimes like we have the exact opposites in favorite albums and songs and things like that. So that's why I said that. But
there are people out there that go and also I'm getting out in front of next week. But let's move on. The other thing I'd like to say about Journey.
Oh, I just noticed it. Wow, I just
I noticed ages ago. That's why I'm not talking to Steven.
Set dressing.
Yeah. The other thing I'd like to say about Journey is because the first few albums, which are less accessible and didn't sell very much. Clearly, somebody said, "Gotta sell some records, chaps." And I've always felt there's a sense with Journey, particularly Steve Smith, that he's going, I could do this shit in my sleep.
Pay me, people. I can do whatever you want. Let's show me the money, right?
I'm really, really good. But you know what? My heart's somewhere else. But how good am I? And he is.
Yeah.
It's not Neil Sean. He really is. So yeah, I just want to say that. Yeah.
Cool. Well, can you tell folks that we really like this album because we spent 35 minutes on it. Just imagine how long the Journey episode is going to be. Woohoo! All right, Steven, introduce our next one.
So the next one, as we mentioned, was H.E.A.T. This is Freedom Rock. I think it was from 2019. That's a lie. I'm lying to you people. It's from 2010. So a bit of background on H.E.A.T for those that don't know. So yeah, they formed in 2007. They are from Sweden. Okay. So they put out their debut album on Stormvox in 2008. And they were voted the best new band of that year by listeners on Swedish national radio. As many bands from Scandinavia do, they then got involved with the Eurovision Song Contest because they got to the final of the Melodifestivalen, okay, which is the thing that chooses the song for the Eurovision Song Contest. Thankfully, they didn't win it because that, to me, would have removed some of their credibility. But there you go. With the song 1,000 Miles, which went top 10 in the Swedish charts, was the fifth most played song of 2009 on Swedish radio. They then signed to Ear Music and released Freedom Rock May 2010. I'd imagine that's why this one has also got the debut on it to make it more widely available, which this was a great part for me to pick up because I hadn't got the debut at this stage.
Stop giving us the finger. What did we do to you today that you're like giving us the anyway? There you go.
Okay, so reached number 15 in the Swedish album charts. Was produced by Michael Veilblum, who's worked with artists such as Madonna, Michael Jackson, Pink Floyd, Kelly Clarkson, Prince, Anastasia, and produced albums by likes of Red Cross and Dynasty. Okay, the band's lineup for this album was Kenny Lacremo on vocals, Dave Dalone on guitars. I'm guessing they're not all the real names, by the way. Eric Rivers on guitar, Yona T on keyboards, Jimmy J on bass, and Crash on drums.
Simon, your thoughts on Freedom Rock?
When you said we were going to do this, I thought, do I have a copy of this? if so, I can't find it. And I looked at the review on Sea of Tranquility, and it wasn't me, but everything's just so instant on it. You know, I'm 100% confident I must have this on a download somewhere. Beg, 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 beg. It's like the catchiest thing of all time. Is it not?
Yeah.
You know, and I think therein lies where some people might go, "Oh my God, that's just pop music," because it's so catchy. It really is, and it's one of those albums where quite a lot of the good shit is towards the end, which is unusual.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it starts well. What I would say is that Black Knight, which has my mate Tobias Sammet on it, you know, me and Toby, like that really takes me out of it for a while. Because I don't expect it to go on and be more advantageous / Edguy like, and I find it quite alienating that he appears on track 2. I'd have moved that further down, but it's a really strong record, and it kind of flies in the face of, you know, melodic rock has all gone just a tiny little bit samey in the millennium, hasn't it? It's just got a little bit samey. Everything sounds the same. Everything sounds a little bit like Journey. All the singers sound a little bit like Steve Perry. But this is like an album you think, oh, ooh, look, it's got like songs on that don't necessarily sound like Journey, or like they come off a production line at a certain Italian record company. It's a very strong album. It really is, and it's so immediate. And you could definitely, you know, going back to what I said about Journey, you could definitely hear some of these songs, you know, with the kids from Glee going, "Ooh, yeah, you know, and it's one of those things. You think, why is it not a hit?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is like super commercial for me. Now, I appreciate I don't live in a world where Radio 2 now plays hip hop and stuff like that. I don't live in that world. But to me, it's just like, my God, why is everybody not buying this? I assume it's because nobody's heard it.
Yep.
You know, therein lies the problem. You know, when you're our age and, you know, nobody listens, nobody plays the stuff you like. But it's a really strong record. Haven't they had more than one singer as well, Stephen?
They have indeed, which I will come to. Yes.
Oh, excellent. I'm gonna again leave the floor over to you. It's a very strong. It also doesn't sound too Scandi either, does it? And I know that sounds awful, but it doesn't. Of course, quite a lot of those of bands from out there do sound a little bit similar. You know, they and the singer's got a touch of Steve Lee about him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got that kind of raspy kind of tone, and it's good to hear a melodic rock singer that, you know, isn't a Perry clone. So I think the website gave it a big 5 stars. I'd definitely give it 4.
Is that good? Yes, it's in that realm. It's 4 to 5 stars. Would I give it 5? Yeah, probably not.
Simon, who reviewed it for us way back in the day?
Dean Pedley.
Ah, Dean. Okay, cool.
Ah, okay.
Interesting.
It must have been before I came on board, because for the next 7 or 8 years, I got all the melodic rock, didn't I? Which is why I can no longer listen to much of it.
He says,
I know him with my Frontiers guy for a bunch of years. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, this is Freedom Rock. As I mentioned earlier, the self-titled debut is maybe more pure AOR. And if you go on to, and there are some really good AOR melodic rock sites and forums and things out there, the debut is probably held up in higher esteem. That amount. Really not very much indeed. I love the energy on Freedom Rock. I just think it's really good. Yeah, I mean, there are kind of journeyisms and things on it, but Simon's absolutely spot on. There's a little bit of that Scandi sound. There's a little bit of Journey in there. It's a little bit heavier. There's AOR, there's melodic rock. They vary it around a little bit. I would suggest that, like most bands from this part of the world, the melodies can be informed by the likes of ABBA. There's that kind of blatantness about some of the kind of pop hooks and various things. They're not frightened to write songs that will just go, hey, you'll sing me forever. Do you know what I mean? And that's what you're going to do with some of this stuff. And it's really clever in that sense. Now, this came out at a time where it felt to me, I saw them at Firefest, okay? I've seen them twice. Saw them at Firefest. They were outstanding. That was just after this lineup. And as Simon mentioned, there's been another singer. But there was bands around that had just come through, like H.E.A.T and Vega, Wet, who admittedly are a little heavier, Houston, who are a little more AOR, Crazy Licks. There's loads of bands that just suddenly blossomed onto the scene. You kind of thought, okay, melodic rock is just about to go back up again. We're about to head right back into a slightly wider kind of consciousness with this classic rock. We're picking these bands up and sticking the name on the front of the magazine as if people were going to buy it because Houston was mentioned, which didn't really come to pass. But this band deserved more than this. So yeah, Kenny Lacremo sang on the first two albums. And then there was a very amicable split. I think we had issues with his voice. I think he had personal issues and various things. They've never gone into that, which is a nice thing. I like that. He is now back with the band, but in between times, and I mean for really quite a long time, we're talking a decade plus, they were fronted by a chap called Eric Gronwall, who has just, in my humble opinion, reinvigorated Skid Row to the extent that their brand new album is going to feature in my end of year lists really prominently. And I would say, along with some excellent songs, because you can have the best singer in the world and rubbish songs and it'll make no difference, they've hit the jackpot because they've written some great songs. But they suddenly sound like a band that is really hungry, really wanting it again. And I really put that down to Eric Gronwall. And yet, great though he was with H.E.A.T, and he absolutely was, and that's the version of the band I saw. And live, what a talent he is. He's got real charisma. He draws you in. He was, I mean, it's all been done these days, but he was on about, I think it was like a pool cue or something. There's a microphone stand, because, I mean, everything else has been done. It was a bit punky. You were kind of like, wow, this is not what we anticipated from a band releasing albums like these. And they did get a little bit heavier and various things like that. But there's an element of that here. There is, yeah. But this is really good. I just think that there's so much good stuff here. The guitar solo on songs like I Know What It Takes, that to me, there's a kind of mix of Journey and Danger, Danger, early Danger, Danger. Danger were a good band, people, before they sung about slipping big ones and all that kind of thing. I mean, they always sang about that. But anyway, let's not go there. I would suggest that at times there's even an out of this world vibe, like a Europe vibe from that era. You kind of feel, and yeah, it makes sense because it's where the band are from and all that kind of stuff. Who Will Stop the Rain? What a groove on that song. It's super catchy. The hooks, the melodies, there's gloriously unashamed 80s keyboards in there, and there's banks of vocals, and proof to me that you can do banks of vocals and make them bigger than the world and sound much more organic than Def Leppard. You don't have to have that synthesized Mutt Lange sound that I can connect with, but when you hear it done this way, you kind of think, yeah, okay, that's the way it probably should be done. Do Danger Road has got real energy. It feels like a kind of lost song from an 80s cult classic movie. I like that kind of thing. You kind of think, what film is this from? And it's not, but it's up here. So that'll do it. I just think that album sounds tremendous. It's got a great vibe to it. Kenny Lacremo is perfect for this kind of stuff. I can understand why people were a little bit, oh my goodness, when he left the band. It felt very much like the end of them at that stage. And it is nice that they've come, and I haven't heard it yet, unfortunately, but he's back with the band for Force Majeure, which was released this year. And I really need to hear it before the year is out. So yeah, really good. I like Freedom Rock. It's probably my favourite H.E.A.T album. And this is one of these points that I've kind of mentioned before. Favourite, best, they don't always align. Sometimes I can admit that an album is better, but I prefer this. I think probably the debut, which is disc 2 on this, is slightly better. And some of the stuff that's come after maybe is too. But my favourite is Freedom Rock because I love the vibe about it. It's life affirming, makes you feel good about yourself. Simon was so right to say that it is. It immediately goes, hello! There's no kind of, you don't think, I played that 35 times before I got it. 35 seconds before you get it. Some people think that's a bad thing, but it's only a bad thing if you get to listen number 5 and get tired. I'm still not tired of Freedom Rock. Really good. Love it.
Yeah, Rich Catino has been trying to get me to listen to this band more for the last couple of years. He's a really big fan, and it's one of those bands I'm like, yeah, I'll get to him because there's just so much out there to listen to. So that's why, like, when I listened to this recently, I'm like, wow, I mean, I'm going to read exactly the final line of my notes here. Tremendous hooks throughout, really well recorded, killer guitar work, ... I need to listen to these guys more. It was a great intro to this band. The only thing that for me was there's probably one or two too many songs on the album. It's kind of a long album. I think by the time you get to the 13th song, you're kind of like, all right. But along the way, it's really, really good. There's anthems everywhere. We're going to make it to the end. There's a terrific song. And I do want to say, I love the guitar playing on this album. There's some balls to the vocals, which one of you guys mentioned before, that his voice has a little bit of grit to it. It's got some balls. He's not a Perry clone at all. I love the riffs and the solos throughout the album. The solos are compact, the crunchy guitar firepower on here. I Can't Look the Other Way is great. Beg, Beg, Beg is so fucking cheesy, but it's so much fun and so catchy. I don't listen to it, I'm like, oh God, this is total cheeseball 80s stuff. But man, this is good. Yeah, it's really good. Castaway takes me totally back to the 80s. It's just this memorable songs all throughout this album. And I had a good time listening to this, and I definitely want to investigate this band a little bit more. So, because again, this is 2010, so this is going back, and I heard their latest one is really good. That's what I've heard. So, yeah, I gotta dive into.
You'll like what comes in between as well, Pete.
Okay, yeah, I gotta check them out a little more. The problem is probably going to be if I'm going to start buying some of these CDs, probably finding them will be interesting.
Yeah,
because that certain label that we hinted at before tends to only print up X amount of copies with each new release, and then
where are they on that label? This is on Ear Music, so I don't.
It's on Ear. They weren't on our Italian friends for a while.
I don't think they were. No? I don't know if some of them were later on. I don't think so.
Okay, I could have sworn.
I don't think so because I was lucky enough to review some from Promo Discs. That doesn't strike me as a Frontiers thing.
Okay, all right. Well, even the Ear stuff. I mean, if you don't buy some of them initially and you wait like 2 years after they're released, it's
just going like this. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So, shall we move on to Miss Cher?
Yes, indeed. So, I've tried to condense this bit down a little bit for the introduction. Okay.
Yeah. Good luck.
I had to just blame me because this is my fault. But
I had never heard, as Peter alluded to at the top of the show, I had heard more of this than I anticipated, but I definitely had not heard this album before. Yeah. So amongst many, many others featured, so apologies if I've left off a favourite of anybody's that happens to, I don't know, waved at the studio whilst they were recording. Okay. Some of the people who worked, not just performed, some of them wrote, some of them produced, because we don't have one producer, because we don't do that kind of thing in this world. Some of the people who were involved in this include Michael Bolton, John Bon Jovi, David Bryan, Richie Sambora, Alec John Such, Tico Torres. Yes, that's the whole band. Okay. Desmond Child, that's the guy that wrote their songs. Jimmy Haslip, Doug Gatsoris, who was in Balance, Craig Kampf, who was on Paul Stanley's solo album along with Doug, Holly Knight, Michael Landau, Tony Levin. What's he doing here? Steve Lukather, Jerry Marotta, John McCurry, Dave Meniketti. What? This is just bonkers, okay? Bob Rock, Michael Thompson. I mean, Jolan Turner does backing vocals at certain points. Pardon? And Bonnie Tyler is here as well. This, to me, looking through the stats, this would appear to be the album that relaunched Cher from being that kind of cult act who'd been with Sonny and Cher and had a big career before and was kind of languishing. From here on in, basically everything she releases goes top 10 both here and in the US. So yeah, impressive stuff. The numbers and the stats are incredible from here on in, and this would appear to have been the left turn that launched that. So yeah, this is the Cher album.
Somewhere Mark Mangold and Darlene Love are going, why did you not mention me? Why Simon's camera gone out of focus?
I think that in my notes later on, but fine, yeah, you're fair enough.
This is one of those you can't possibly mention everybody.
No, it really isn't it? Just everybody.
I wrote that list out and thought I had to stop.
So Simon, I'm curious. In the actual CD, in the credits, do they list all 5,000 people who appear on this album?
On every song, everybody's credited on every
Holy!
song.
So it's like a
Pages of the
20-page
book,
booklet,
Doc.
right?
It's not as long as you think. There's not much other information. Obviously, other than John Kalodner being John Kalodner. You know,
Thanks, John.
that had to be a thing at one point, didn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, just on I Found Someone, written by Michael Bolton and Mark Mangold, and produced by Michael Bolton for MBO Productions. You've got Chris Parker on drums, Will Lee on bass, guitar by Steve Lukather and John McCurry, guitar
More
solo.
proof that Steve Lukather has played on every album ever released in the
He did
history
the
of rock
guitar
and roll.
solo as well as the actual guitar, and you know, then it just goes on from there. But the reason why I push this is A, because I love this album. I genuinely love it. It reminds me of my time going up and down the Rhondda Valley in South Wales when I was going to and from university, and it's just full of absolutely great songs from people at their absolute peak. And yes, I include Bon Jovi in that. Got some stick the other week for saying I didn't like Bon Jovi. I don't remember saying it, but hey, let's move on, shall we? There are so many great songs. I Found Someone. Oh, that's so good. It's so good. Do you remember when Michael Bolton made records that you weren't afraid to say I've got that?
and I've still got those ones, not the
Yeah.
other ones.
Do you remember that?
He
Do you
may
remember
feature
that?
later on the show.
Before he became a corpse, which is what last time I saw him. I mean, the opening salvo of "I Found Someone" and we all sleep alone. It's just magnificent, you know. And then there's a cover of the Sonny and Cher "Bang Bang." That's great. Main Man, Desmond Child just by himself. Oh, so good. Give Our Love a Fight. It's just great. You've got all, you know, Diane Warren, Desmond Child writing it. Perfection's great. The only thing that is not great on it is Skin Deep, because that's utter shite.
Pure cheese.
Nothing if not a critical
pure
listener.
cheese. Yeah.
It's just shite.
Yeah.
Stabby keywords. Don't like it. Don't like it. Working Girl, you know, when the backing vocals morph into the Beatles, it's just great. It's just imagine you were a fan of Cher in 1987, and you're thinking, oh, you know, she's gonna give us some like big disco show tunes at some point, and then she provides this classic melodic rock album. And then did a couple more thereafter before they decided, you know what, Cher's not a good enough singer. We're going to vocoder the shit out of her.
Yes.
And have massive hits.
Auto Tune Central. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, let's not do that. This, for me, is an absolute melodic rock classic. I love it with all my being, except for Skin Deep, which is dog shit.
Well, I think that the fun of this show going forward is going to be discovering albums. Because, yeah, I knew some of this. Now, I have got to be honest, okay, I have got to admit that realistically, my abiding memory of Cher, especially as a 16-year-old, watching the video to Turn Back Time, okay, where a 43-year-old lady is sat astride the largest phallus that you will see in a music video in your life, basically wearing a see-through sparkly suit with what in modern eyes looked like some mankini underneath it, is seared in here somewhere.
Yeah. Even she's paying tribute to the Navy. I don't see what
that yes, she definitely raised a salute. There was no two ways about it. Okay. However, the other thing that I did know, because somebody somewhere in my family of extension had, I think, the next, or maybe the next bar one Cher album, which was all covers or all not kind of written in-house for the album. And she does a really decent take on A World Without Heroes from the Monster album, Music from the Elder by Kiss. Now, admittedly, she's no Gene Simmons. I mean, who is, right? But it's one of those where you kind of think, pardon? that makes no sense. Now it makes sense. Now, actually, it makes sense because she took that song, which was, depending on your view on that album, was a bizarre attempt from Kiss to be progressive, or a piece of melancholic majesty. It depends where you land on that. And she kind of turns it into a kind of slowy AOR number. And I remember hearing it kind of thinking, that makes absolutely no sense from what I knew about Cher at that point. Because I knew things like Bang Bang. And here it is completely just, it's taken to bits and it's completely put back together again. And it's overblown. It verges on being a bit nonsense, in my humble opinion, because Cher does not do small and contained. Do you know? I mean, everything about what Cher does is utterly ginormous. Do you know? And amazingly, the band on that track, and We All Sleep Alone, it is Bon Jovi. Yeah. These are Bon Jovi songs with Cher singing them. It's quite bizarre in that sense, do you know? But then, the album opens with I Found Someone. It's Bolton and Mangold, right? So I think, well, there's a way in. And I listened to this, and I thought, well, I know this, but I don't know that. And I think, okay, Michael Bolton did this himself. And I went away and listened to that, and I thought, yeah, I've heard that. I still don't connect it with that. And it's actually the Laura Branigan version that I seem to know the best. And I actually would suggest this is the best version of the three. And I didn't anticipate that going in because I really quite like this song. I think the Cher version is the best of the three. Really like it. I mean, she's a vocal powerhouse. I don't necessarily love her voice. That's been true. I definitely didn't need it to go as she does later in her career. I never needed that to happen. I don't necessarily love her voice. Man, can she sing? Okay. Then you get things like Give Her Love a Fighting Chance, written by Child and Warren. I mean, they've got a hand in 5 of the songs between them. These are songwriting masters, especially at this era. Do you know, it's amazing. But then you've got We All Sleep Alone, and to me, that is basically, I mean, it should say in brackets after it, Living on a Prayer. Go back and listen to that song, and you'll discover that it's a rewrite. That is an absolute rewrite of Living on a Prayer. I mean, it's almost going, it's bizarre and really quite good. It's funny because I found lots of things that kind of niggled away with me here while I'm going, this is really great. Dangerous Times is kind of similar. And then, yeah, I mean, Skin Deep, I've written it. It sounds like a reject from the Beverly Hills Cop soundtrack. I mean, the keyboards are so sharp that, I mean, I've got cuts from them. They're just atrociously bad.
It's like this drink. It's as sharp as that, you know.
Yeah. But slightly more garish than that tin you've got here. I mean, I think in the long run, and I've gone back and listened to this album probably more times than I needed to, in inverted commas, for this show, because I kept thinking, yeah, okay, I kind of need to hear some of this again. It's a hybrid between AOR sheen, Diva Queen vocals, catchy, overblown 80s pop, but then there's so much talent on it that's bringing it all together that you can't ignore the fact that it's really good. Yeah. I don't know if I'm going to rush out and buy it. I mean, I would guess that with the fact that it sold gazillion copies over the years, I can probably pick it up for about 76 pence somewhere. And if I do see it at that price, I probably will take the risk, you know, of that outlay. Do I love it? No. Have I been delighted to hear it? Absolutely. Yeah. It's been a revelation. Thoroughly enjoyed it. So much fun.
So I grew up in a household that watched the Sonny and Cher Hour every single week because my family, growing up in the 70s, were addicted to those variety show, the Variety Hour, right? So there was Sonny and Cher and the Captain and Tennille and the Tony Orlando and Dawn, all these kind of like musical acts and things and celebrity couples and whatnot. They all had their own variety show hours. So I grew up always liking her voice, and just Cher was just always a part of, you know, in the Pardo household. It was pop culture, and they were on our TV all the time. And I remember hearing her 70s hits and whatnot. And I always kind of liked those. And you know, there are some, I'd never heard this album through and through. Now, this was released in 1987. So what was I listening to in 1987? Whitesnake, self-titled. Slayer, Rain and Blood, Hall of the Mountain King by Savatage. So like, I was not really listening to Cher, but it was impossible not to hear I Found Someone playing on every radio station, every pop radio station known to man. And I always really liked her version of this song. And I will agree with you, Steven, 100%. This is the best version of that song, and it's not even close. It's great. The production values on this album are immense. This is a big sounding album. Like we mentioned, everybody in their mother is playing on this album or contributing somehow. Bang Bang is terrific on here. It's kind of heavy, right? It's atmospheric and kind of heavy. The riffs are heavy. Main Man is terrific. Give Our Love a Fighting Chance is great. I love the hooks on that. There's lots of 80s heavy rock guitar on songs like Perfection and Dangerous Times. Yeah, Skin Deep is terrible, like laughably bad. Total cheese fest. And you take that off this album, and all of a sudden you have a pretty damn really strong album. For me, I had a lot of fun listening to this because, again, it's like, there are a couple songs that I've heard before, and I have like a pretty good like Cher greatest hits collection that has like all of her best songs from all throughout her career. And there's great stuff on there, and there's some crap on there as well. But I think this was good because this is like what I want to hear from Cher, right? Because I know she always had this kind of album in her, and she's got I like her voice. I personally think she's got a really good voice, and I enjoyed the hell out of this. I thought there's some killer songs on here. Yeah, there's a couple that aren't as good, and one that's really bad. But for the most part, this is a really fun album. Really fun album. So I enjoyed listening to this in its entirety for the first time ever, and not just a couple tracks that I remember from the radio or on my hits collection and stuff. So yeah, good choice, Simon. I commend you for picking this.
Very good choice, Simon. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah. I can just imagine, like, if she, you hear this and you're like, oh, I wish she did a lot more albums like this, instead of some of that. And, some of her pop and kind of dancey, disco-y stuff that she did later on. I like some of that too. But I would rather hear more of this.
Yeah, I think the main thing for what comes after is she's still an amazing talent.
Right.
So whilst I maybe don't connect so much with the music, I don't love her voice, but you can't help but listen to basically everything that she sings on and isn't overproduced on and go, man, she can bring it.
Yeah.
And that's what I found with this was realistically, you listen to it, and whether I love her voice or not, you can't help but go, what a power.
Yeah.
It's immense, absolutely immense.
I mean, like her old like Half Breed and Gypsies, Tramps, and Thieves and that kind of stuff. Oh, I love those songs. that's just 70s pure pop cheese that I love. But you know what I heard not that long ago, guys? Have you ever heard the album she did with Greg Allman?
Oh, Man and Woman.
Oh. Take it you're a fan?
He's away again.
Oh, I'm a fan of both Cher and Greg Allman.
Oh, yes. But together?
I'm just going to leave it there.
Yeah, that album is awful. Holy cow. Like what record company executive was like, yes, let's put this out. Oh my God. Greg Allman, whose career at the time was, and I love Greg Allman to death, but his career was kind of down in the gutter at that point, and she was riding high, right? So they're like, oh, we need to get Greg Allman back out there. They're a couple. She's popular. Let's put them together and make an album. Oh, Jesus. Oh, man, oh man.
Oh dear.
I'm sure whoever greenlit that got fired shortly after when it sold like 5 copies. Oh, craziness.
Before we finish up, I just also want to mention that the first show we did in this series, we got lots and lots of positive comments. There were a few of our watchers, viewers, who mentioned, can we not get some UK bands? I am aware that we've not done any UK bands today. There will be some in the near to come future episodes. It is something that we're aware of and we want to do. So yeah, let's not get too impatient because they will be coming really soon. Yes. Lots of great stuff that kind of fits this sphere from the UK as well.
Absolutely. Sounds good. So I have to do this to you, Simon. So Simon, you want to introduce next week's episode?
No. Before we do.
It's okay, because we're not doing it.
Out of those 3 albums, today's albums, which one is the keeper? Which one are you keeping? Which 2, if you were forced to, which one are you keeping? Okay. Peter?
Well, I got to keep Journey. I mean, come on, that's just, you know.
Okay.
But can I secretly sneak the other two off as well? You know, I mean,
Yeah, I would keep Freedom Rock. I need songs off both of the other two, though. I absolutely do. It's a bit of a cheat today. And yeah, I must admit, if you'd gone a different way, I'd have chosen the Journey album there, because I think all three today deserve for one of us to choose them. So I'm quite pleased, because I
I have
probably
to
would have
choose
gone.
Journey. I mean, I bought the Journey album when it came out, and I've loved it for 40 years now.
Absolutely. So it works for me anyway in that sense. But yeah, I'm glad that all three have been highlighted.
Yeah, cool. That was fun.
So what's next week, Simon?
It's over there somewhere.
It's such a great album cover.
Yeah, and wow, Simon's got it on vinyl too. Woo!
No, I hate it.
Yeah, it's terrible. Yeah,
It's so bad.
It's iconic, but it's still terrible.
It proves that it doesn't matter. At certain points in a career, it doesn't matter.
Right. We should save that for next week. Yes, exactly. So ranking the songs on classic albums next week. Led Zeppelin 4 from 1971.
Yes.
Yeah, 1971. So that's coming up next week, and Simon is going to be so happy to talk about this album. Can you tell? Till then, everybody, thanks for watching this episode of the UK Connection. Let us know what you think of these three melodic rock albums down in the comments below. And we'll see you next week for some Led Zeppelin discussion. For Simon Bray and Steven Reid, I am Pete Pardo. Visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. All together, all the damn time. Till next week, have a good rest of the weekend, everybody. Remember, stay tuned for Ranking the Albums tomorrow. We've got the great progressive and technical death metal band Obscura coming up at you tomorrow. So till then, see you soon. Bye-bye.